Hey, how's it going, you guys? Welcome back to some more Hello Lady. Last episode, we got introduced to Sorako B, which sounds like Mirror B from Pokemon Coliseum if you've ever played those games. A little strange. It's actually a different personality of Sorako's. We're not entirely sure how that came to be, but hopefully we'll find out in her route. I'm curious to see what her backstory is and how it pertains to us when we were younger, which I guess was about 7 years ago. We'll see how that ties in. But anyways, let's keep on going here. Shinri Narita had been waiting for this weekend for a while. Hishia had informed me that a certain man would arrive at the academy, so I waited for him, with bated breath, like a young boy about to meet the superstar he idolized. Is he gonna kill him? I wonder if we're just gonna kill a different person each route. Instead of Kurofune, we're gonna avenge, and get somebody else. The academy was a boarding school designed to create true nobles. Though we had no lectures on weekends, the students didn't rest. Some took supplementary lessons, some developed their halos, and even those who did rest did it with great diligence and care. Everyone had a goal, and everyone worked hard for it.
Hi, Narita-kun. Ocha o douzo.
I would love some tea. Thank you, Sorako. That's so kind of you. After breakfast, I didn't feel like staying in my room, so I went to the living room. My timing coincided with Sorako leaving her room, so she prepared some black tea for me. It was very thoughtful. At the moment, Eru and I resided on the first floor, while Saku, Sorako, and Tamao lived on the second. There were in fact 4 rooms on the second floor, but the last one belonged to Mitori, who had essentially been replaced by Taigi Mikado. Yeah, I know, that frick. Kind of replace our Mitori. It's not gonna happen. It wasn't rare for Sorako to appear with perfect timing. If anyone ever lazed around the living room, she appeared as though she felt their presence. What is a Darjeeling? It's a city in India. Okay.
別にそこまですごいことじゃ。あ、この前焼いたクッキーの残りがあるけど、成田くん食べる?
Leftover cookies? What kind of cookies? Okay, if you're gonna say raisin, I'm gonna be like, I don't know about that. If you're gonna say like peanut butter blossoms or chocolate chip cookies, I'll take some. How about that, Sorako? I'll take some, especially if they're fresh. Like fresh cookies are the best. You don't want to wait a day. You want to eat them fresh with some milk, okay? That's a life lesson right there. After preparing her own tea, Sorako sat on the sofa before me. Silence followed and continued for a while as the scent of tea and the cracking of cookies filled the living room. Oh no, they're hard. I want soft cookies. Yeah, everyone's got better things to do. They had to create this plot for us, okay, that we can get together. Speaking of things I didn't see, Sorako B, Sorako's other half, hadn't made an appearance since her introduction. Was that truly all she wanted to say? Though even if she was telling the truth, even though she wasn't present, she was listening in on our conversation. Honestly, that was interesting in its own right.
休日だからだよ。休みの時にやることはやっぱりそれぞれ別だよね。
Yeah, I mean, I have my own free time events I do things in, Sometimes I decide to go to the classroom. Sometimes I decide to go into the hallway for whatever reason. Sometimes I decide to go to the plant. I'm just trying to, go out into the woods and get myself killed by some deadly maid. I'm curious too. I mean, I know how some of them spend their days, but...
サクは真面目で授業の予習とかかな。でも気晴らしによくお菓子を焼いたり、ジムで体を動かしたりしてるよ。
Dang, you're better than I don't spend any of my time in the gym. The gym was in the faculty's building, which was located between the school building and the research building. It had a gymnasium, indoor pool, and a tennis court. Students could freely use it, so they often did. Yeah, I have access to a little gym in my apartment. I don't got time to use that.
ジムかね。健康的な汗、躍動する死体、そして揺れる大満、素晴らしい。私もご商売に預かりたいものだ。
Of course you'd like to partake in these activities. But he doesn't want to partake in them for himself. He wants to partake in them so he can see somebody else doing it. Specifically a girl.
ご商売というと、 例えばグラウンドを一緒に走ったり。
No, Sorako, don't offer yourself. You are a fair maiden. You are better than this, okay?
プールがいい、特にいい。何よりもジャパニーズスクール水着は完璧なるフェチズムの体現としてブリュッセルでも名高い完成度だみたい。ぜひとも実物をこの目で。
I love how fast he starts talking when he gets really excited. Like, he just starts going at it. He's like, Japanese school swimsuits are a pure manifestation of fetishism. Like, he gets so excited and he just starts talking at a million miles or a million freaking words a minute. Gosh.
成田くん、どうしてそんなに変態なのかな。
Yeah, even Soriko's like, you're a little too excited about this, okay? Keep it in your pants, buddy.
違う、それは断じて。この成田真理はいついかなる時でも美への信奉を捨てされないだけなのだよ。傲慢のもたらす奇跡ほど完璧なものはこの世にありえないのだ。
You know, there's a lot of miraculous things in life, and I've learned that as I've gotten older. You know, like you have the miracle of childbirth. I watched my wife give birth. That was interesting. Lots of stuff that you probably would normally never want to see. But, you know, I did it. It was an experience, right? It's miraculous. You know, it's pretty crazy seeing a human being coming out of another human being, right? But for Shinri Narita, no. That pales in comparison to the wonderful sight of a voluptuous pair of boobs, okay? Nothing could be greater than two lumps of fat that have milk for babies, right? The baby itself, no, not miraculous at all compared to the voluptuous of a nice pair of breasts. Okay, just glad we got that figured out.
それを完全無欠に変態って言うんだよ。
And Sorako, thankfully, at the moment, is smart enough to understand that. Earlier, not so much, but today, she is very smart. I ignored those undeserved accusations. Shut up. They were not undeserved. And looked at the clock on the wall. It was 11 in the morning. If everything had proceeded according to schedule, Shinzan Katsuragi was meeting with Kurofune Mikado at the exact moment. Interesting. So he's going to try to kill her father in her route. How do you think that's going to make her feel? She's going to stop you. There's no way that's happening. Sorako's father, Shinzan Katsuragi, was a man of unparalleled greed. Unsatisfied with the position and wealth he'd amassed, he'd often met with Kurofune to gain even greater fortunes. Specifically, he aimed to meet those who supported Kurofune. Kurofune Mikado was a powerful member of a certain group that funded the academy, amongst other things. The Vril Society. Oh, that's the first we're hearing about this. That was their name. They were a secret society that formed in the mid-20th century Europe. And Shinzan Katsuragi was doing his darnest to become a member. Normally, Shinzan Katsuragi wouldn't have stood a chance. The Vril Society only admitted elites from political, artistic, and scholarly fields. The fact that a CEO of a major American IT company tried to join but was rejected was testament to just how strong their chosen flock creed remained. Thus, Shinzan Katsuragi relied on Kurofune to make the impossible possible. As partners in crime, they were, after all, deeply connected. Oh, what unbefitting greed. Most excellent. I would use it to my advantage. He would soon learn that those who overstep their bounds always face great retribution. He would soon learn that the sin he'd committed had not vanished, and receive punishment, even if it did not come from the hands of rightful ruler of heaven and earth.
どうかした？成田くん、笑ってる。
Oh, nothing. I'm just thinking about killing your father. I mean, no biggie. Like, don't even worry about it. Like, don't stress about it. You know, have I told you you look nice today? You look very nice today. You know, blonde hair. I love it.
いや、少し思い出し笑いをしていたところなのだよ。
Yeah. I was thinking of a joke. Yeah. Me. For a moment, the girl before me looked like a child I used to see running through the fields. I subdued that memory by reciting an oath I swore to myself countless times. Enact your revenge, Shinri Narita. Why have you lived those 7 long years? Remember the hell of that day. Summon your hatred and rage. Complete the solemn prayer for the dead.
本当にどうかした？今度は怖い顔してる。
いや、そう、この間害虫を退治した時のことを思い出していてね。 思い出し怒りというところなのだよ。
My question is, though, how does nobody recognize Narita, right? Or Shunsui? I wonder what happened to his appearance that, like, is so different. Because, like, you look at the picture, right, that shows, like, Sorako, Ruri, and Taigi. They all look very similar to how they look now, except for his sister, you know. She's kind of dead, you know. But freaking Sorako looks just like a bigger version of her younger self. So does Taigi. I stealthily clawed into the wound on my right hand with my left. The pain finally brought peace to my thoughts. You need some better coping mechanisms, my guy. Take some therapy. The AR interface displayed an icon that indicated a visitor had arrived. I looked at the entrance and sure enough, saw someone at the door. He was a bit late, which was probably due to this conversation with Kurofune taking longer than expected. Freaking imagine if Narita, like, just straight up kills her father right in front of her. Like, that would be a plot twist, I'll say that. Sorako checked the dorm's management layer on her device. I looked at my own device, and the feed of the camera entrance showed that the one and only Shinzan Katsuragi. It was a visit I expected, and one Sorako could never have predicted. Yeah, that's because you're, like, stalking him. Once we let him into the living room, he charged up to Sorako.
Sorako! 久しぶりしばらくだったね。Sorako、元気だったかい？だからこんな量じゃなく、学園に直結の新しい家を建てようと。
お父さん、成田くん見てるから落ち着いて。
Her father stood there and embraced her tightly. However, his appearance puzzled Sorako. A visit to the dorm wasn't in Shinzan Katsuragi's schedule, but I heard from Saku and the others he never missed a chance to visit his beloved daughter. Also, this time, I was at the dorm too. After our talk, he must have looked into me, and discovered Shinri Narita's reputation in Europe. In Shinzan Katsuragi's eyes, Shinri Narita was a valuable business partner who could give him the push he needed to enter the Vril society. I had a feeling he would not miss a chance to get on my good side, and I was right.
So, でも久方ぶりの親子の再会じゃないか。 恥じることでもないだろうに。おお、Sorako! Sorako!
Is he gonna try to get me together with Sorako?
でも今日はどうして？
ちょっと用事で近くに寄ってね。
Her father's intense embrace left Sorako perplexed, but she had a happy, wry grin on her face. It felt a little excessive, but the relationship was truly dazzling. Satisfied with the long embrace, Shinzan turned to me at last. He approached me with a pleasant smile, though it looked completely different than the one he gave his daughter.
ちょうどいい。私も一度詳しく話をしたかったところなのだよ。以前相談させてもらった建て替えの件なのだが。
We still never saw what that building was, too. I'm kind of curious. He put on a facade that was humble to the point of being creepy. Or facade. I don't know. I've heard facade, I've heard facade, however you pronounce it. I've pronounced it both. So, there you go. He kissed up to the strong only to betray them at the moment they showed weakness. A true vulture among men.
その件なのですが、ミスター。取り急ぎ見立ててみたのですが、かなり大規模な工程になります。となると相当のお時間と、そして費用がかかることに。そのことなら何も心配はない。
Hold up. I'm still trying to figure out what Narita's power is. Does he have, like, some level of influence over people? Like, is that why he did that? Is he, like, implanting something in them? Like, either, like, an idea or a thought? I'm still trying to figure it out. Like, I'm so curious to know. I think I might be close once I find out, or I might be completely far away. But I hope they eventually reveal it. He looked confused for a moment, but then he simply nodded in agreement.
なるほど、なるほど。そうおっしゃっていただけるのであれば何の心配もない。それでは一度詳しい見積もりについてご相談したいのですが、ここは学園の寮ですので、そこで我が自慢の屋敷に招待したいのですが、ご足労いただいてよろしいでしょうか、ミスター成田。
Okay.
良い考えだ。自分で建てた屋敷なのだと噂には聞いているよ。Katsuragi Design、この目で確かめさせてもらうとしよう。では、そうだな、来週末で良いかね。
おお、問題ありませんとは。説得ですが、最高の艦隊をさせていただきますよ。案内は空子にさせますので、我が社を選んでいただき、誠にありがとうございます。
Interesting. So we're going on a date with Sorako. Alright, I like where this is going. This is going to be interesting. I'm curious to see what he's going to do. I feel like he's using this as a way to go assassinate him, right? But I'm like curious how he would get away with that. What does he think he can do? Then after some small talk, our discussion ended.
そういえば先月の夜会でお父さんに何かを頼んでいたよね。
How perceptive of you. Yes, we did talk about that.
手持ちの物件の処分を。君の父上の腕を見込んでね。信頼のおける相手に仕事を頼めるのは幸いだ。
Yeah, trustworthy. I'm sure that's how you feel about him.
まったくです。信頼は最高です。私を信頼していただければ何一つ問題はありません。では空子、ミスター成田にくれぐれも粗相のないようにな。
Dang, this guy's the biggest kiss butt out there. Sorako seemed confused by her father's money-grubbing attitude, but she saw him off to the entrance all the same. I watched the father and child leave, squinting my eyes into sharp blades. The vomit-inducing exchange with Shinzan was merely a means to an end. My plans were proceeding well. The man had danced on strings like a worthless puppet, just as I'd wanted him to. It was finally time for the second act to begin. I think whatever project he has planned has something to do with, like, something he had as a child, maybe? Like a house? Like, maybe he's gonna, like, say, like, hey, I'm trying to make it look like this, and it's gonna be, like, something that Shinzan recognizes. But I'm not sure. We're gonna see how this ties in. Shinzan Katsuragi. I plan to make him taste despair befitting a traitor. Someone say despair? Well, where there's despair, there needs to be hope. We learned that from Danganronpa, okay? His cruel end would come once he realized the weight of his sins. Oop, boop, boop, boo. I'm sorry, I just thought of Monokuma. I just think of him whenever I hear despair. A week passed. As promised, I received an invitation to the Katsuragi Mansion. Sorako and I got permission to leave the academy and hopped in a car that had come to pick us up. Everything was going according to plan. The Katsuragis were a Mikado branch family that had left before any other. They were the Mikado's treasurers, and as well as their point of contact with the outside world. After mingling with commoners for many years, their blood grew thin. So starting with the previous generation, they become little more than normal humans themselves. And with that change came selfish human desires. The Mikados often chastised them, so it was only natural that Shinzan, the new head of the Katsuragi family, had started to think them a nuisance. I had Hishia investigate, and she found that Shinzan Katsuragi's mansion was located on a border between neighboring prefectures. It wasn't a place you could go on a whim. Thankfully, the seats of the large German cars Shinzan had provided felt rather pleasant, making the long journey completely painless. We eventually left the car, and Sorako led me to her home. I bet she's ballin'. Oh, yeah. Dang, that's nice.
これは見事な邸宅だ。和のもたらす静けさと調和は世界に冠たる芸術と言っても過言ではないものだよ。
Like, I have to recognize that, like, Japanese homes just look way different than what I'm used to in America. I'm used to, like, really big, fancy-looking buildings, and Japanese homes, like, can be big like this, too, you know, if you're rich, right? But it's a little bit different of an experience than what I'm used to. I do like how they have this freaking, like, river in it, though. That's cool. I bet they have, like, a koi pond and things like that. The building was surrounded by a verdant bamboo grove, and it had a mountainous forest as a backdrop. It felt rather modern, but the building was so luxurious you could mistake it for a temple. Beyond the gates there was a garden full of stones and trees, as well as the main building and several detachments. This was the Katsuragi Design. Shinzan Katsuragi was renowned in the industry for his bold designs, which incorporated traditional Japanese sensibilities. The fact that art like this had sprung from the vulture's mind made me question the workings of the human brain.
ソラコは昔からこの土地にいたのかね
I asked a question I knew the answer to full well.
昔は他の土地にいたんですが、何年か前に引っ越してきました。父がここの土地を気に入って。
Sorako's tone had changed as soon as we entered the gates. She seemed a lot more tense than usual. Strained was probably the best word for it. Bet that has something to do with why Sorako B exists. Sorako led me deeper in. Oh. Oh. No, I'm just kidding. I know that's not meant to be anything more than it is. We passed the garden by walking on the stones, taking in the scent of the moth orchids all the while. Then we traveled through a hallway, sided by shoji, until we arrived at a reception area that mixed Western and Japanese stylings. I'm curious to see inside. Oh, this is nice. You know, I would have changed a few things. This kind of looks like it's for like the Yakuza or something. The glamorous reception area looked quite odd. The wallpapers and small pieces were all Japanese, but there was a carpet spread out on the floor, as well as a luxurious table and sofa in the middle. The wood flooring that peeked in from the neighboring room made it feel strange, but not bad. Deeper in, I saw a tokonoma, which displayed Chinese vases, hanging scrolls, hunting rifles, and swords, and the raised floor there was all tatami. This was probably designed by Shinzan himself. It was actually my first time seeing a tokonoma in a Western room. I couldn't help but praise him for incorporating it so well.
人間とはつくづく不思議なものだね。
父を呼んできます。少しだけ待っていてください。
As I sunk into the soft sofa, she presented me with the Japanese tea in a black cup. It seemed she prepared it herself.
急ぐ必要はないよ。せっかく一日の外出許可を取ったのだから、ゆるりとこの庭でも眺めながら待っていよ
う。わかりました。では、落ち着いて呼んできます。
Yeah, sit down, Sorako. Let's talk.
そうしてくれたまえ。
Let's have a little chat. I'm meeting your father at his home. You know, give me the briefing, the lowdown. I see he's got a lot of weapons. He's got, you know, katanas. He's got rifles. You know, what do I need to be worried about here? Sorako quickly turned around and walked off down the hallway. She always seemed overly considerate in the academy, but it was worse in her own home. She really did have a tendency to needlessly overburden herself. I would not be surprised if there's some kind of abuse going on here. I mean, her father seems very two-faced. A while later, I heard inorderly footsteps, and Shinzan Katsuragi entered the room.
いやー、今日はご足労おかけしました。どうもミスター成田。
Another person stood close behind him.
はじめましてミスター成田。桂木の妻、タマでございます。
Oh gosh, his wife is just as fake as he is. She was a middle-aged woman clad in traditional Japanese clothing who looked far too thin. I assumed she was quite the beauty in her younger years, but now she's too bony for that. Thank you. I'm glad at least Narita agrees. Like, if you're too skinny, that's unattractive, okay? You know, you need some meat on your bones. Like, you don't need to be a stick. You probably don't want to be too big either, right? But like, you know, I'm glad he appreciates that. After that, Shinzan's wife backed away. She acted nonchalant, but I could tell that she was evaluating me. Shinzan Katsuragi sat down on the sofa on the other side of the table. Sorako sat at his side, placing some distance between them. Odd considering the fact that Shinzan and I wished to discuss business, she had no reason to be here. I highly doubted that someone as meek as Sorako insisted on that, which meant someone had
では早
insisted.
速詳細を聞かせてもらうとしよう。
Shinzan's words, thick with greed, went in one ear and out the other. One of the reasons for that was because hearing his cheerful voice made me want to vomit. The other was Sorako Katsuragi. I looked at the girl who remained seated at her father's side. Yes, we're getting backstory. Let's go, baby. Sorako used to be a bit more free-spirited. Though not as bright as the sun, she was cheerful enough to be compared to a sunflower. How had she changed so much? She dressed like a man, and though not quite an introvert, she never put herself forward. Instead, she spent a lot of time and effort worrying about the needs of others. I couldn't see the link between her past and present. However, I was certain she knew nothing of her father's sin. In that case, the cause of her change in behavior had to be her mother. Sorako's real mother was Shinzan Katsuragi's lover, or in other words, a mistress. Shinzan had probably caused quite the commotion by bringing in an outsider, and a bastard child at that, to the Mikado village, but that no longer mattered at this point. In her younger years, Sorako was raised by the main family. Due to their roles, her parents rarely returned to the village, so she spent most of her time with the Mikado heir and his little sister. I'd met Sorako's mother a few times. She was born in the United Kingdom and had blonde hair and blue eyes. Oh, okay, that explains some things. They were a first in the Mikado village, so to a child, they seemed like a precious treasure. Precious treasure. Sorry, I'm like choking on my words a little bit. She visited the village a few times, but based on our interactions, I knew she was too good for Shinzan. She'd passed away many years ago, and Shinzan and his wife Tama had been forced to take Sorako in because they had issues conceiving a child of their own. Well, good. It sounds like they're a bunch of pricks anyways. I had no idea what happened afterwards. I could tell she changed a lot, but I pushed those thoughts aside. Shinri Narita has something to do, and his actions would result in the tragic downfall of the Katsuragi family, thereby causing Sorako immense pain. However, I would never regret the blood drawn. Shinri Narita was an avenger, a wicked man driven mad by a grudge. Mercy had no chance of moving my heart. You know, that's a lie, because in Tamao's route, Kurofune ended up dying, but you didn't end up going after everybody. You were like, oh, I got time to kill them, He was saying, hey, I'm just going to go settle down instead, So I'm curious to see if Sorako's involvement will change his mind on killing Shinzan. Once a decent pause came, I stood up.
手洗いをお借りしたいのだが。
はいはいはい。それでしたら、ソラコ、ミスター成田を案内して差し上げなさい。
Yeah, Sorako, let's ditch this loser. Let's go make out in the bathroom. He gave his daughter that order, then formed a smile again.
成田君、こちらへ。
I followed Sorako out of the room. Are we gonna interrogate her? We're gonna be like, hey, why are you acting so weird? Once the guests exited, Tama, who'd been listening in from the neighboring room, entered the scene. Oh, perfect. We get some backstory.
成田でしたっけ？ずいぶん大層なお大臣だとか。
ああ、そうだ。調べてみて驚いた。去年ヨーロッパの社交界に突然現れた異端児で、あちらの国ではミスター・ストレインジと呼ばれる結構な時の人だそうだ。莫大な資産と異端の経営手腕の持ち主で、ほんの数ヶ月の間に欧州経済界にその人ありと言われるようになったとか。
Wow, I didn't know that much about him.
成田という名前から日本人らしいと言われていたが、めったに人前には出ないせいで顔を知る者も限られている。来歴どころか出身地さえ不明の謎の人物だ。
そんなあやふやな方を信用してよろしいんですの？
ああ、そう思うだろう。ところがだ、ミスター成田は人脈も並ではない。気難しいので有名なウッドマン公が大のお気に入りで後見人に立っているという。
Interesting. Lord Woodman. I wonder if that will come up again.
それでは本物なのですね。
ああ、本物も本物、極めつけだよ。この桂木新山に舞い降りてきたとびっきりの幸運だ。なんとしても。
His voice was filled with so much bliss that you'd expect him to start licking his lips.
あなた、何かいい手はございますか？
そうだな。あのご人、さっき私と話をしている最中も空子の方ばかり見ていたが。
Ah, they're planning an arranged marriage.
それは好都合じゃありませんこと。あの化け物を気に入ってくださったというのなら、
Monster?
当てがってみたらいかがです？
いや、あの娘ではかえって粗相をしでかして機嫌を損ねてしまいかね。そうなれば元も子もない。他の方法がいい。
そうですか。まあ 他にも方法はいくらでもありますか。まだ若いお方ですし。
まあ
I don't like where this is going.
強欲な愚か者どもめ。
I heard their conversation from the edge of the garden. The distance would have been too great to eavesdrop for most people, but it was child's play to me. I pretended to leave for the bathroom, then found an opening I could use to slip into the garden. Sorako stood at a distance out of consideration, so sneaking out was a simple task. I silently walked around the mansion to confirm the existence of the security I'd already seen in the blueprints I had acquired. Then, after finishing some other preparations, I heard an unexpected exchange.
欲に目がくらむ娘まで道具扱い。真相は信じた。裏切り者桂木新山。よくぞこの七人。以前と変わらぬ抱きすべき腐肉あさりのままでいてくれた。いずれ貴様にふさわしい末後の舞台を用意している。
Dang, now he really wants to kill him. After I returned, we continued the seemingly pleasant chat. You want to call it that?
ところで、今夜はミスターを迎えるために腕によりをかけさせ珍味を用意したのですよ。夕食をご一緒にいかがですかな。
それはぜひともご評判に預かりたいところだが、私も学生の身分だ。学園に戻らなければならないのでね。あまり遅くなるのは。
いや私たちの信仰の証にぜひとも。そうだ、それでしたら今夜はうちに泊まっていかれればいい。そうでしょう。
Yeah, I don't think they'd allow me to do that.
それはスクールには外出許可が必要ですから。
それならそらこ、電話の一つも入れればいいだろう。そうしよう。そう。
She looks perplexed, and so I spoke up to help her out of her predicament.
ではお言葉に甘えて本日はこの屋敷に宿泊させてもらうことにしよう。学園には私から一報を入れて許可をもらうということでどうかね、そらこ。
はい。成田くんがそうおっしゃるのでしたら。
Shinzan laughed with so much mirth that it depressed me. I think this is all part of his plan. He's going to use the nighttime to get something planned here. Gosh, that sure is pretty, though. The many delicacies he prepared were quite luxurious, well worthy of his pride. It was rather clever of him to serve Japanese food to match the aesthetic of the mansion. Shinzan Katsuragi clearly had a talent for sniffing out the wealthy and getting on their good sides. After the meal, I was led to the guest room. It was also decorated in a traditional Japanese style. I could tell he poured a lot of money into it even though it was a guest room. The air of elegance matched the rest of the mansion.
父が無理言ってすみません。
Don't worry about it, Sorako. It's all part of the plan. Sorako bowed to me as she apologized.
どうして空子が謝るのかね。君の父上に無礼があるとしても、それはあくまでも彼の問題だ。なるほど、確かにいささか羽目を外しすぎる人物らしいが、応用な私を悩ませるほどではないよ。それにしても、この家に戻ってからの空子は肩に力が入りすぎているような気がするのだが、もう少し普段のように気楽に過ごしてみてはどうかね。
それはそんなことは別に。
そうなのかね。何か気を張っていなければならない事情でもあるのかと思ったが、気のせいならば何も問題はない。だが、あえて言うなら、せっかく学園で机を並べて学ぶ学友同士だというのに、二人の時までそんな堅苦しい物言いをされてしまうと、繊細な私は傷ついてしまう。
Sensitive heart, this guy.
それは違うから、そういうのじゃなくて、僕、成田くん。
I wonder if because Narita overheard that conversation earlier, if he's gonna really go after Sorako just to spite Shinzan. And that way he's controlling the narrative and not him. She panicked and shook her head, which seemed typical of
いつ
her.
も通りの君で、良きかな、良きかな。
もう成 くん、やっぱり変だ。
私は自分の思うまま正直な心を言葉にしているだけだよ。言葉とは望めばいくらでも偽ることができる。だからこそ真摯に用いなければならない。違うかね。
It's a good policy. I would say most people don't follow that, but you know, I think when you can tell the truth, like you absolutely should. Unfortunately, I don't think many people do.
そうかな。でもそういう風に言ってくれるのはすごく嬉しい。
先ほど手洗いに立った時に見たのだが、なかなかに見事な庭だった。少し見せてもらっても構わないかね。
Yes, date night, let's go.
どうぞ。
Oh, I thought they were going together. I misread it. Frick. I said that just to give myself some time to relax and think, but my words on the beauty of the garden were no lie. It was a traditional Japanese garden with a pond in the middle and garden stones and shrubs all around, though one part of it was a rock garden. There I saw gravel made to look like water, which was almost likely inspired by Ryoji, and island-like garden stones surrounded by twisting pines. There were no trees anywhere within the confines of the garden, making it feel like a wide, ever-expanding system of mountains and valleys. Summer was close. If it was noon, I surely would have seen the greenery covering the surrounding mountains and a blue sky with clouds dotted around. The contrast would have been quite beautiful.
Japanese shakkeか。
借景だね。園庭の方が定期的に手入れに来てお手入れしてくれてるんだって。
Yes, Sorako ended up following us.
日本という国の風情を庭という小さな世界に余すところなく表現する見事な手腕だ。
Sorako actually seemed out of place in the mansion. The existence of a blonde, blue-eyed, foreign-looking girl in men's clothing starkly contrasted the pure Japanese construction and scenery. Yeah, I mean, she definitely looks like she's from England, like her mom.
どうして制服を着替えないのだね。
She reacted to my minor question as though she'd been struck by lightning. Her decision made sense earlier when we planned to return to the academy, but it was strange not to change into casual clothing at that point.
それ
My question troubled her. It felt like I'd touched on a sore spot.
そういえばまだ男装の理由を教えてもらっていなかったな。君が好きでそうしているというのであれば、口を挟むことは何もないのだが。
You know, I share in your curiosity, and I've said this a few times. I had to ask that, otherwise I had no hope of ever discovering her burdens. Wait, why did that even matter? That kind of thought was unnecessary for Shinri Narita, no? Sorako remained frozen in place, shaking like she had a fever, then spoke with pauses as though she was conveying... Conveying? Isn't that conveying? Why is there an R in it? I don't know, maybe that's a word? I thought they were trying to say conveying. Her words through a phone with a bag signal.
これはお父さんが昔男ならよかったのにって。
You know what? Screw your father. You know, you tell him to shove it up his butt, okay? Don't even listen to that guy. You know, we're gonna get together, you and me. You don't even need your father. I'm gonna kill him. Like, just don't. You know what? He's not even your father. You know, he's some punk. Screw that guy, okay? You forget he ever existed.
つまらないことを尋ねてしまったようだ。謝罪しよう。
You know, don't ever speak about this guy again. He's gonna be dead tomorrow. I'm planning something tonight. You don't have to deal with this guy. There were a few rooms with lights on beyond the garden. Shinzan was probably still awake.
無様な男め。帝の人間を殺し尽くしただけではまだ足りないらしいな。
I wouldn't be surprised if he killed off her mother too. It would have been child's play for me to kill Shinzan Katsuragi that night while making it look like an accident. However, he did not deserve such a merciful end. Revenge was a solemn prayer for the dead, and so his death had to match the tragedy of that night 7 years ago. I plan to take everything from him and give him a direct fitting end after making him experience pure despair.
楽しみにしていろ。桂木新山。
さて、それよりもだ。
Oh, that's somebody else. Sensing something strange in her tone, I turned around and saw glasses on Sorako's face.
お前どういうつもりだ
Nothing. I'm not planning on killing Shinzan. I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you being so accusation? Why are you accusing me?
ちょっとダメだよいきなり安心しろ成田は私のことは知っている驚いたりはしない
Okay. So we're revealing this now, huh?
いいから少しだけ私に任せろ
A single face underwent some stark changes in a matter of seconds. She looked like a different person, not just in terms of expression, but impression as well. No, they truly were different people. Two personalities resided in that
い
body.
きなり君の方が出てくるとはさすがの私も予想外だった。この間の告白は2人だけの秘密ではなかったのかね。
秘密何それ
Confession.
空子をからかうのはやめろそれよりもさっきの答えまだ聞いてないぞどういうつもりだ
None of your business. Definitely not planning on doing anything.
どういうつもりと。
わざわざこの家にやってきて泊まって帰るだろお前何を考えてるあの連中がろくでもないクズなのは分かってるだろ
Dang, so even Sorako B knows. She was clearly referring to Shinzan and Tama Katsuragi. I did agree that they were scum, but I wasn't sure if a child should call her parents that. But then again, while they were Sorako's parents, the same couldn't be said for Sorako B. If she was telling the truth, she only had the memories past the moment she emerged. She had no past. She had no reason to feel I'm not sure if I can filial piety, nor could she really call either of them her biological parents. They were basically strangers to her.
私は親しくしている学友の父親を信頼して仕事を依頼した。今日この家を訪れたのはその相談のためだ。泊まっていくのは桂木氏の申し出を受けたまでのこと。
Yeah, that's how you want it to appear, though.
何もおかしくはない。
信頼してかそこまで白々しく言えるのは大したやつだよ私はお前が何をしでかそうが足をすくわれようが別に構わない
She pierced me with her gaze as she said that.
私は空子の味方だお前が空子を不幸にするのならただじゃおかない
It was hard to discern Sorako B's true intentions. She revealed her identity to me and showed herself twice. But why? I didn't know if it was because she looked exactly like Sorako, but I felt the senses I'd sharpened over the past 7 years dull around her. Didn't that mean Sorako Katsuragi was a poison dagger to Shinri Narita? If Sorako B was truly Sorako's ally, she would do everything in her power to prevent Shinri Narita's revenge. If she knew I was after Shinzan's life, she would certainly stop me. All my careful laid plans would be rendered useless if she so much as spoke a word of them to Shinzan. And if that happened, Kurofune would also learn the truth in no time. Enacting revenge would be near impossible if they were all on guard.
君の言葉、肝に銘じておくとしよう。
I had to in order to prepare for the worst case scenario. If she discovered what Shinri Narita was, no, I was certain that she would, and so I gathered my resolve to prepare for that very moment. I think we're going to have to convince her that we're doing the right thing, which is going to be hard because it's ultimately going to end up hurting Sorako. Which, you know, that's an interesting thing. After saying what she wanted, Sorako took off her glasses, then placed them in a case that went in her pocket. Thus, as if freed from possession, Sorako returned to normal. Gosh, you're freaking out about this more than when I was freaking... You know, you were in my room and we were doing things. No, that definitely wasn't normal. She turned as red as a boiled tomato and ran out around the garden in a panic. Has anyone boiled a tomato? Like, if you have, please let me know. Is it really super red? Because, like, tomatoes are normally red, right? I've never boiled, like, a straight-up tomato before. Or perhaps she had turned back into the old energetic Sorako. Wow. Sorako, next, I want you to say supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, okay? Say it as fast as you possibly can. Because you obviously are a better rapper than Eminem. Like, did you see how fast she just said that whole line? Once she got tired of all the running, she suddenly looked up, said that without a single pause, and ran into the mansion. I was left all alone. Right you are, Narita. I wonder what the other Sorako thought of that reaction. For all I knew, she was laughing heartily. She returned in a little under an hour.
成田くん、お風呂沸いたから案内します。
Thing, it took you an hour to prepare a bath? Freaking slow, Sorako. I can have it done in 5 minutes. Like less than 5 minutes. Like the rest of the mansion, the bathroom was decorated in a traditional Japanese style as well. The wooden design gave it a mature look, but it was obviously colored by preferences of a true hobbyist. Dang, freaking Japanese bathrooms are the best though. Like they're a little weird to me as an American, but like some of the stuff they have, like heated floors and, you know, bidets and heated, I don't know, just everything. It's pretty nice. Baths are an important measure in gauging a culture. Personally, I disliked Western baths and showers. See, I like them. I just wish there was a little bit more stuff to them. Like, I wish they had, like, the heated floors. I wish bidets were more common here. I don't actually own one. I've wanted to get one, but I think just the concept of it is nice. It'd have to be something I'd get used to, but in my mind, truly, relaxation came from spreading yourself out in a large wooden bath. You want to join me, Sorako? Is that what you want? Silent footsteps and a stifled voice. Sorako seemed to be in the changing room. Why does Sorako's route have, like, some of the most perverted things? A brief pause, then... Oh gosh, she's actually doing it. So I've had to censor Sorako's route before, and I don't like doing that, because I'm pretty against censorship like that, right? Like, but, you know, it's YouTube, and I can't show certain things, so hopefully it's okay. We'll see. Her response seemed odd, but it did prove that the worth of always speaking my mind. Yep, they're definitely showing something here. Sorako, you're way too submissive. You gotta, like, tone that down a bit. I was so moved that I almost died. No, you were not. You're happy about it. Don't even lie. Oh. Oh. Oh my gosh. Don't feed into him more than you already do. Sorako wasn't naked. She was in her school swimsuit. It was heretical to wear in a bath, but she shone a divine light. Oh gosh, this is gonna be too small, isn't it? She was as embarrassed as she would have been if she was naked. She was right, it wasn't the right size for her, though part of that was because she was too large around the chest. Narita, calm down, okay? Calm down. The fact that she normally hid all this under a men's uniform made that change feel all the more liberating. Sorako's voluptuous breast pushed on the cloth. The already small Japanese swimsuit bit into her skin here and there, especially at the shoulders and nether regions.
Sorako, サイズが窮屈な服とサイズが大きすぎてすぐにずり落ちてしまう服があるとしよう。
I'm really surprised, like, they're not really showing much.
君は哲学的にどちらを着るべきだと思う？
哲学的？よくわからないけど、僕なら大きい方かな。
小さい方なのだ。理由は特にない。
理由
Yeah, you would just want Sorako to be wearing smaller clothing, I'm sure.
素晴らしい。だがそれはいけない。小さいサイズを着ている空子は正しい。何もおかしくはない。自信を持ってもっと近くでよく見せてくれたまえ。
この変態大概にしろよ。
Thank goodness Sorako B is here. Looking down in embarrassment, Sorako brought her beautiful form to me.
おお、ハレルヤ。
Shut up. I love the way you said that. Oh, hallelujah. I was no pious believer, but this was a situation where I couldn't help but praise the divine.
さっきは驚いたと思うんだけど。
After gathering her courage, Sorako finally spoke her mind.
もう一人のことかね。ならば心配は無用だ。彼女が言ったように挨拶は済ませていたのだよ。君に言わなかったのは申し訳ないが、彼女との約束だったのでね。
それはいいんだけど、成田くん、気味悪くない？
うん、なるほど。確かに普通ではないだろう。だが、人間にはそもそも普通などはありえないのだよ、空子。
Gosh, Narita, I feel like you're a little manipulative here. Trying to say, oh, Sorako. You know, Sorako, normal is an abstract concept. It can be many different things. You know, this is completely normal.
常識とは時代と環境が定める最大公約数でしかない。正常と異常の区分は変化し続ける。
But yeah, I mean, part of what he's saying is right. Like, what we consider normal nowadays versus like 100 years ago would be like way different.
本質的に人間はワンオフだ。互いに著しく異なっている。肉体という部品の規格こそ共通だが、一部を交換しようとしただけで免疫反応という拒絶が起きてしまう。70億種の孤独な生命、それが我々だ。他人と心の形が異なるのはむしろ当然だろう。
そうなの？
もう一人が天地に戻る悪逆の徒だというのならば、また別の問題もあるだろうが、空子の同居人はなかなかに面白い人物。
そんなこと言われたの初めて。
I mean, I don't think anyone else knows about your roommate, but
あのね、正直驚いて気味悪がられるって思ってたから。でも僕今すごく安心してる。ありがとう。
礼には及ばない。
言わせて。だって成田くんはこの前も今も僕がどうしようもなくて泣きそうな時にいつでも来てくれるんだから。
この程度のことでよければ、君が心塞ぐことがあったならいつなりとも呼びたまえ。空子が笑っているのは私にとっても喜ぶべきことなのだから。
this is a surprisingly wholesome moment. I like it.
甘えることにする。困った時はきっと呼ぶからね。
Like, I'm sure a lot of people will disagree with me, but in these kind of games, I like when they stop focusing on the pervertedness or the H scenes and things like that. Because I feel like you can get so much more done. Like, I don't know if this is censored. Like, I'm not putting this black screen up. Like, this is just there when I'm playing the game. I'm playing the Steam version, right? I don't know if in, like, the original game, like, if you can add this scene back, maybe there is actually something being shown here. But, like, I really like that they're choosing not to show something if it's perverted, because I feel like this scene is actually kind of wholesome, and I like the interactions between them. I like that they're kind of growing and, you know, coming to rely on each other, and Sorako is comforted by Narita, because when he's not being a pervert and talking about voluptuous breasts, he actually is kind of a nice guy. You know, he likes to kill people, you know, specifically people who have done him wrong. I mean, he can work on that. We saw that in Tamau's. He can work on that.
その時は私の微力を尽くそう。
じゃあ前を向いてください。
Sorako is far too shy to do this. Would she have ever done something so bold of her own will?
それは考えづらい。おそらく誰かの入れ知恵。今夜泊まる客を歓待せよと命じられてのことに違いない。
I don't know. Sorako's done some pretty bold things in the past, so I wouldn't put it past her.
何か言った？
安心したまえ。もちろん何も言っていないとも。
何が安心なのかよくわからないけど、わかった。
なんと哀れな。あのような強欲な親を持ってしまったばかりに。こんな真似を。だが断らない。
Would any man ever refuse such an act? Nay, I say.
では、できるだけ密着して流してくれたまえ。ささやかな。
何をいい笑顔で晴れ晴れと言ってるんだお前は。もういいから今すぐ死ね。成田君、これでいい？
おお、晴れるや。
They're using that same line. I was no pious believer. This was a situation where I couldn't help but praise the divine. Narita, whatever shall I do with you?
人間は生きながら死んでいる。
Okay, I'm actually gonna end it here. I know a lot of stuff hasn't happened, but I wanna leave it to see if something big happens after this, because usually when they put a little insert like this in here, right? I mean something's about to go into motion, and hopefully next episode we're gonna see what he's gonna try to do, because it sounds like he's not gonna try to do something here. It sounds like he's been gathering information. He's been thinking of a plan. He wants to make Shinzan feel what he felt 7 years ago, okay? So I'm curious to find out what exactly that is, what his idea is to make him suffer. It sounds like he's going to try to destroy his empire, the Katsuragi, business, and get him back that way. So hopefully we'll get to see what he's thinking either next episode or the next couple episodes. But anyways, guys, I hope you've been enjoying that. Sorako's route's been good. I like that it's a little bit slower, I think, than Tamao's. I think we're like kind of slowly dipping our foot in the water with her. She's had kind of a different reveal. It's not like we're just like, oh, we're in love with you, right? We're finding out more about Sorako B and why she exists. We found out kind of why she wears the male uniform. That was nice to know. But lots of good stuff in this episode, so hopefully the next one will be just as good. Anyways, guys, I appreciate you watching, and I will see you in the next one.